Excited to be chatting here with Mayor Jeff Lehman, and we wanted to talk just really briefly about the Barrie Central Collegiate closure, which is impending, unfortunately, in the months and the years to come. Recently received a statement, petitioned Chairman Peter Beacock at the Simcoe County Board just to get an idea of how the city interacts with the school board, and he sent me the statement. He says, "We value our relationships with all municipalities in order to best serve the educational needs of our students and families in Simcoe County. We will continue to work collaboratively to build on those relationships to serve the needs of our communities." Just wondering if you can respond to that statement and to tell me whether or not that has been your experience working with the Simcoe County District School Board.
Right. Well, I mean, I think what people don't see in focus on many of the high-profile issues is all the mundane ways that city staff and board staff do work together on everything from parking to active transportation. I mean, there's a huge effort right now on getting more kids to walk to school that the city's involved in along with the board, and it's being driven by the Barrie Cycling Club, actually. There's a whole series of those things that happen. Obviously, the relationship on school closures has been terrible. Mm-hmm. And although I believe Chairman Beacock, they do value the opinion of municipalities has not been taken into account, obviously, in many circumstances, and that's obviously very concerning. I think Barrie Council passed 3 resolutions calling for support for the central partnership and staying open.
And just for clarification, you know, we have a civic group, we have the community group, pardon me, the Save Barrie Central group, we have the Barrie District Association of Downtown Businesses, a letter that you sent with MP Hogarth, pretty much the concern, at least, of most of the people on your council towards this closure. So there has been some significant concern from a lot of people regarding the closure of this school who represent the students in our municipality.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I've fought that closure for years. At the moment, it's been a losing battle, for sure. What the great frustration for me on this issue was, we pushed the board in 2010, and the board agreed to do something quite visionary and different. We said, this one high school site, not because it's old, the institution's old, although that has huge value, but because of its location in the West End and downtown Barrie, because of the nature of the school, it lends itself to a really innovative way to get a new school building that can save the taxpayers millions of dollars. That happened. That plan, a plan to do just that, was developed. Partners were found, institutions signed up, agreements established, all good, and the board turned it down. That is my great disappointment on this issue, and that is where the relationship, I think, has soured for sure in the last year. I mean, there was at one point a working relationship between the city and the board to try and get that partnership happening, and then they literally stopped talking with us.
Do you have any indication why they chose to shoot that down, down that opportunity?
No, of course all that happened behind closed doors, so I don't.
Give us a window into the challenges of working with the school board on closing of old schools. I don't think nobody would disagree that the South End desperately needs a school.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really important.
As soon as possible.
Yeah. And the opening of new ones. Can you summarize what you believe would be in the best interest of our city pertaining to the site of Barrie Central? You commented on that a little bit before. Are you able to elaborate a little bit more? You're thinking like some kind of innovative, you know, place of learning. What is the best outcome at this point? Well,
I hold out hope, I suppose, that as the process to sell the site plays out, somebody comes forward with a vision that could include a new high school. Perhaps it's a smaller school, perhaps it's a specialty school, but that all that is Barrie Central could be you know, maintained, or at least most of it, in that institution. More important to me all the way along, and why I fought the closure and why it troubles me so much, I think school closures in Ontario right now are being driven by a formula that rewards school boards for letting old schools fall into disrepair so that they get money for new ones. That's perverse. I mean, that is not in the interest of students, that's not in the interest of good government, but the PTR process really does do that. I mean, you become eligible for huge amounts of money if you just let the school fall apart enough. I mean, that's really messed up. So I think that needs to change. That's really critical. But I think, you know, when you look at the local situation, community might yet exist as that more student spaces to be created through a maintenance of the institution. I mean, there's no question to me now that, you know, the South End School is going to be, we always needed the South End School. Frankly, I always said we needed the South End School and Barrie Central, not either or. The board has received some funding to expand north. That will help move some of the students out from the comprehensive model. Perhaps there is a way to maintain a specialty school and maintain this institution that clearly matters so much to residents of Barrie, this high school, in the redevelopment of the site in the future. But I am hugely disappointed because I thought after years of effort that option had been put forward, but the board of the day just did not have the vision to pursue it.
As you have met with students and teachers, because I know you've made yourself very accessible, especially on this issue pertaining to Central's closure and the new South Barrie School, do you think the students themselves have had a voice to be heard and that their concerns have had any kind of influence on this process?
Interesting question. I don't think in the last few years their voices have been heard. I think they've tried to raise them at different times. But I can remember, you know, even recently some student deputations that were disallowed by the board, which is, you know, even if people are late making a deputation request or something, we let them do it.
Right.
Because it's supposed to be about democracy, right? And people have a chance to speak. Like, even if you're going to say no, ultimately you have to say no to what they're asking.
So whereas there might be rules that govern a situation, you are willing to accommodate people, especially children and students, if they want to have a say.
Well, regardless of who it is. Yeah. I mean, we generally always try and err on the side of allowing people to have their voice. I think back at the time that the ARC happened for Barrie Central, the student voice was very prominent, very well organized. They played a big role both in the formal process and, frankly, the political process around the trustees' decision, and it was heard. And that, you know, that is my frustration in this, is that those voices were heard by the board of the day. And the same board, many years later, ultimately turned down an option that I think would have responded to what the students wanted.
So the way the school board operates, we have a group of trustees. The trustees are there to govern. The superintendents are there to administrate.
Right.
What do you think we need from our trustees, the Barrie trustees and perhaps the rest of the trustees for Simcoe County? What do you think we need from them right now pertaining to this issue as they manage this closure and as they open up the new school? Good question. What do we need from them?
Well, so first of all, I have a lot of sympathy for trustees. They do an incredibly difficult job that rarely makes people happy. They get paid next to nothing. They do very, very long meetings. I think that they are operating within a system that needs some fundamental reform. So they're caught by the realities of these funding situations that lead to decisions that they then have to try and rationalize to the public, and that's gotta be hard. I mean, what do we need from them right now? You know, we genuinely do need a better working relationship, and
you desire that? Oh,
absolutely. And I recognize the irony, and I recognize there are probably trustees and board staff who would laugh out loud hearing me say that. The reality is we built a much stronger relationship after we fought the last time. So in 2010, there was a fight between myself, Lynn Strawn, the ward councillor, a bunch of people in the downtown to fight to keep Central open and give this partnership option a try. After the fight, we developed a good working relationship on the new direction. Then that relationship dissolved or became very negative again, and that doesn't serve anybody. So, I mean, the reality is, as much as I have problems with the way everything you know, has progressed, I'm sure there are trustees and supers who don't think too much of me. We're all gonna have to get over it. I mean, we have the same community to serve.
That's right.
And
we got to put the students first, right?
One would hope. And you know, for my part, we are working very expeditiously to assist with the South End School. The city is not going to try and hold up the South End School to make a point or anything like that. In fact, we want to expedite the site plan process. But I will tell you that there does need to be, and I'm talking Simcoe County, why I do, there needs to be a far better working relationship between the board and the communities they serve, and we are the mayors that represent those communities.
Now they're hoping for the new school to be open in September 2016, and I know that you're going to do everything that you can to make that happen. Do you still think that that is a realistic goal, or do you think that there potentially could be some delays, not intentional, but just because of the nature of these processes?
Well, I mean, it's speculation. Who knows at this point? I have been very public in saying I don't think there's any chance of them making that deadline. I will tell you frankly that the chance of them making it has improved.
For sure.
Because of the fact that the expropriation process, which frankly I had anticipated would take a long time, was settled. So they were able to avoid that.
Yeah.
And I think that if the site plan goes quickly, if site work goes quickly, if construction goes quickly, they might get close to it. But I don't, it is beyond the mayor to be able to say how quickly a high school can be built. The part that I thought was likely to delay it was the approvals process, and to be frank, that's been expedited. So I think they are closer now to achieving that date. I tend to still think it's pretty unrealistic, but that's just based on the experience I've seen in the time it takes to approve and build schools.
Sure, and I think your opinion holds weight as the mayor. You see a lot of projects, a lot of ones that continue to go on that have been delayed, that are being delayed. So I think your opinion does hold weight. Recently was at a meeting and heard Trustee Jody Lloyd, who is from Aurelia, make the comment to the effect of that this particular school closure isn't going to really have much of an effect on students. As the mayor of this city, do you believe that school closures have an effect on students in your city? And if so, can you help us understand how they are affected? And what would you like the students in the city of Barrie right now in this interview to know about your commitment to them as their mayor and their education?
Sure. Well, obviously, I think school closures have an effect. I think it's quite naive to assume that when you close a student's school and move them to another school, break up friends, break up social circles, eliminate teams, eliminate clubs, eliminate faculty-student relationships, that none of that has an impact. I think it has a huge impact. So, I think that issue alone is wrenching for students. I think, the issue of closures is driven by a system that is broken. And if I have perspective now at this point, having fought and won and now fought and lost on the same issue over 5 years, or seemingly lost, I'm not going to stop getting involved in these issues. That's the first thing that people should know out there, even though, I often have people say, well, it's a school board, you're the mayor, and that's not your business. Why are you interfering in that business? All levels of government are engaged in building better communities together. That's what we should be here for. And that means providing the services, whether it's healthcare or education or the 60 services that this organization, my municipality, provide. We should be building better communities together. That's not happening in the education system generally in Ontario right now, because we have a system of capital planning, and there's fault all around on this, that is leading to situations where I think funding formula trump the best outcome for students. And there's got to be a better way than this. Now, I'm a mayor. I hear this from other mayors. I hear this from community groups. There are alliances out there trying to challenge these issues. It's systemic. It's not just our board or our trustees. But I don't think it's been handled particularly well in some cases here, and the fundamental problem here is that the system isn't about the students. And until the system is about the students, I think we're going to see more problems like this. We probably have systems at the City of Barrie that need to be more about the residents and less about our own processes.
Sure.
And I would like to think that as a mayor, I'm going to try and reform those,
Sure.
find them and fix them, right?
Sure.
And I hope the school board will take that approach too, that from here forward they'll be looking at school closures and saying, if these are necessary realities, which they may well be, we are at least going to find a process that puts the students' interests first in doing that. There are always going to be changes in school attendance areas and enrollment and so forth, and that's a huge challenge. But we've got to find a better way than this one, because this is not a great process.
Thank you for bringing some much-needed clarity to this subject, and appreciate your time and your thoughts on this very important issue. Thank you, Mayor Jeff.
Thank you.